Everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today is a topic about homelessness in Los Angeles. An article has just come out, or a couple of articles actually, about the fact that LA City is planning to spend a further $70 million to redevelop Skid Row housing after to Skid Row after Housing Trust Properties looks like it's going to collapse. Now, that is the main landlord that owns a lot of the buildings along Skid Row, and it has been earmarked or has been put in charge of redeveloping these buildings to create new homes for the homeless population that live on Skid Row. If you're not aware, I think Skid Row is the largest homeless population in the whole of the US. It has got it's basically tent city. So if you go there, it is just an entire row or street that is filled with tents and homeless people living there. Obviously, it's good that people have a place to go, but there are a lot of issues with that area. Not many people want to live there, and there's a lot of crime, drug use, etc. So Los Angeles has been investing heavily to save the Skid Row Housing Trust, which is this kind of non-profit organization, and apparently it's facing financial collapse. So they've already spent $40 million on this trust, and they are considering spending another $70 million to actually just save the situation. It's going to target the trust's oldest and most troubled buildings for redevelopment of studio apartments for formerly homeless individuals. So I think it's a good idea, actually developing empty, rundown buildings to create homes and places for these people to stay is a great idea, because those properties are just sitting there vacant and effectively being more and more run down as time passes. Which apparently they oversee already 29 buildings, but they're at a significant risk of collapse, and it will lead to the loss of this affordable housing and effectively put us back in the same situation with a huge amount of money that is wasted. So there's been some council members, Bob Blumenfield and Monica Rodriguez. They have already expressed concerns about the financial challenges and described the situation as a black hole money pit. Now, my history with this, or my opinion that I've seen in the past, is that a lot of this money is not spent in a clever way. There is a huge amount of waste. There are consultancy fees that go to a lot of people. I know that in some of these situations, the cost of janitorial services and things like that on these buildings has been so overblown that it's led to a situation when they've blown through the budget and not spent that money on really what it should be. Now, I do think this is a situation where you have elected officials who are trying to spend this money to do the greatest good, but it's not being used in an effective way. For instance, when you have a developer who is building a building for profit, they are trying to do it in the most efficient way so that they can maximize the profit that they're going to make out of it. Now, that may sound bad, but in this situation, when it is taxpayer funds, you really want every dollar to go as far as possible. And that does not seem to be what is happening in this situation. And as a taxpayer in this area, there is a huge amount of tax that we pay in LA. The amount percentage just for my property tax is around 1.5% of the purchase price every single year that I'm paying. So that money is going to the government, to the local government, and that needs to be spent in a way that is going to be it's a clever way of spending the money to actually use it for what it's meant for, and not just for throwing this money around just because it's there. I think a lot of these for instance, this trust, it seems like they're not really spending it in the way that, oh, wait, we're going to go bankrupt if we don't spend it in the right way. It's more like, oh, there's money to come. It's going to come from the taxpayer. Therefore, it's not the biggest deal. And they're not employing people to run these trusts who are the best people for the job. So apparently some of these trust properties have been transferred to other landlords. So this may be an indication that kind of happens. And there are 12 key buildings that are earmarked for redevelopment. The financial commitment of the city includes covering operating and repair costs, but does not extend beyond June for those properties. So they've already got a timeline until June. And I know there's been situations where they've earmarked money to cover these costs for 4 months and it's run out after 3 months. Was it 25% off? They've got a 25% miss on what they're actually they're allocating this money for, and that's a large amount. That's not just, oh wait, we're missing it by a week or by a few days. That's a whole month is 25% of what they've earmarked this property for, which is a huge amount of waste. And they've come under criticisms for mistakes and budget runs, as I've just said, and a financial structure similar to the one that's led to the trust downfalls is what they're looking at implementing. And apparently it was exacerbated by unstable leadership and mismanagement within this trust. There's a court-appointed receiver initially who struggled with fundraising, and that's led to his resignation under pressure. And there's another Kevin Singer, who's another receiver, who's also faced budget issues primarily due to, as I was saying, high janitorial and security costs. Now, janitorial costs and security costs are obviously something that are needed, but having that as a high amount of what you're actually spending on these properties, that needs to be done in an efficient way. The other big thing, which I think is crazy, is vacancy rates. So a huge significant number of actually the uniships that are under receivership are vacant, with some of the properties being less than half full. And the Dewey Hotel, which is a 43-unit building, was shut down indefinitely after an arson fire, but that needs to be uh, brought back to a level where it's open as soon as possible and not being shut down. Anyway, guys, I think that this is something that's really interesting. I think it's a point which kind of emphasizes when big government gets involved in something that can really be made efficient, and the greatest good is by doing it through a private market. Obviously, there's going to be mixed opinions on this, but I know that there has been over $1 billion raised over the last 5 years just to help the homeless situation. And I look at it now, and it seems to be worse now than before the $1 billion was raised. Now, that's not saying that it wouldn't have been worse if the $1 billion wasn't raised, but it definitely does not seem like that money is being spent in an efficient way to get those problems resolved. Anyway, guys, this is my personal opinion. I'd love to get your thoughts on it and to know if you agree or disagree. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, that'd be amazing. And I'll be back tomorrow with another video and another topic. I hope you guys are great wherever you are, and I'll speak to you all soon. Goodbye.